Welcome to a MicroCiv tutorial. Today we're going to talk about combat. Now, combat in your world is optional, and there is no designated way to do combat. It needs to be customized. Just like crime, law enforcement, and industry, you have different activities that simulate those events. Or actions, I should say. So this episode we're talking about combat, and I'm just going to basically give some ideas on what you can do, and I can tell you what I've done and what I do in my variant of MicroCiv called Eternal City. So when we first started the game when we were kids, combat was not simulated, really. It was pretty much just physical fighting, and you pick up a stick and hit someone. Yeah, we probably had some rules. I think one of them was like no hitting people in the head, stuff like that. But it was pretty dangerous. Obviously, this day and age, you can't do that. And the only option for that is to do simulations. Now, you can still do physical games, which I'm mainly going to be focusing on this. But before I get into that, I will discuss different types of simulations you can do. So after the original era back in the 1990s, and then when I restarted this game back in 2023. Before that, in 2011, is when I was starting to brainstorm about a school variant. And I had different ideas, and another idea I had was laser tag. That's something physical you can do to simulate combat, but it's not exactly practical unless you're really, you know a lot about laser taggers and stuff like that, and you can maintain that kind of thing. But before I get into all that, let's talk about simulations that aren't physical. So it would be something like a board game or a video game, something that where the kids or other participants can play each other in to simulate the combat. So when Eternal City first started in early first half of, or maybe late first half of 2023, we use chess, chaturanga, and stratego to simulate combat. So basically, you would have to buy a force card, and at the time, I think they cost, instead of 1 point, I think back then they cost like 10 points total, or the equivalent, I should say, of 10 points. So you would if you would earn a point, you could get 1/10 of a force. Now, that's just way too hard, so I just made it 1 point for one force card. So you can, when you earn a point, you can either take that point for your score or get a force card with it. Of course, if it's an entity, they can't get a point, they have to get a force card or whatever. So eventually what happened was, instead of just using one, like how it was at first, is you would get one force card, which was worth 10 points, and you would have to you would get the whole, for instance, chess team, the chess side, all the chess pieces. Then later on, it was you would, when 1 point was more equivalent to just one force card, then you would put in a force card and you get a pawn and like a random chess piece, or a pawn and a random stratego piece. And you could place it where you want on your side of the board. So now crime is kind of done like that now, but I'm not going to talk about that in this video. So that's one way you can do it. Something as simple as chess, even checkers. Okay, you could get into more complicated things like a war game. For instance, like a war board game, or even a computer game if you want, whatever. And you would just, it's easier to do with a board game because you can customize it better. Like for instance, the kid or participant, I should say, because they're not all kids, would turn in a force card, and they would get like a random, like I said, a random chess piece or something like that. And if they turn in like 3 or 4 of them, then yeah, you can get 3 or 4 extra chess pieces plus the pawns. And then it's better, it's more easily customizable like that too, because then you can have more than 2 sides. So other entities could join. So how it works basically is, I'm probably going on too much about the specifics, but how it works basically is one entity, but be it a country or a organization of any type, but generally it's a country or a city-state, they declare war on someone else. Okay, so, but you're probably not going to understand that unless you understand the game. So this is more advanced. So the combat is more advanced. So if you don't understand the basic game, don't even think about that. So now we get into the part where they're going to turn in their force cards, get their pieces, and they're going to be basically fighting for the city. So if the offensive side wins, then they take the city. Now, of course, if you have multiple teams, then it's always going to be one guy defending, or not one guy, but one entity defending. And any of the other three places, teams could take it over, or they could help defend. The other optional entities do whatever they want. So, for instance, you could have like three countries, or one country attacking one city that's owned by a different country, and then three other countries want to join in the battle, and some of them would take, the defender side, and some of them would take the offensive side. Some might even be neutral, or they might do whatever they want, something like that. Or they might pretend to be on one side and then end up being on the other side. Anything like that. So now we're going to get into what we do now, which is a variant of Steel Base, which is a variant basically of Dare Base. Now, I'm not an expert on those games, so I just took the basic idea and made my own variant. So now we're looking at this little map I have. Now, this, like I say, you can simulate it with board games and stuff, but that's not what I'm trying to present here. You're going to have to imagine that this is a real place. So this is simulating one region, okay? One region in the game as defined in the game Microciv. So again, if you're not familiar with the game, you're not going to understand this part, or that aspect of it. So this is one region, and then within this region there's going to be multiple cities. Now, of course, not all regions have multiple cities, but in this case, it is. So we're going to say that inside this house, there's 2 cities. Now, again, imagine that this is a real place, not a board game. I'm just using the board game to basically give you a visual of what's going on. So we got the house right here. We have like a playground here in the dirt. Then up here by the gravel, we got like a shed over here on the driveway. And then we got the garage. And then over here in the woods, maybe you got a tree house or something. And then down here is the road. So these are basically the boundaries, the natural boundaries of somebody's yard, which is defined as a region. So like I say, we're going to imagine that there's 2 cities in here. And the game master has also decided that there's a city here, and there's a city here, and one by the garage. So a total of, looks like 6 cities in this region. Now for this example, we only need to talk about one, but I'm just giving you the visual so you can kind of understand where this is all coming in. Now, what the game master does in our variant here is define a exit area, which I'm going to symbolize by this pink hexagon, and target areas. Okay. Now, one battle is only going to have one target area, even though I have a whole bunch of them here. But each, in one battle, whoever is starting the battle needs to pick the city that they're attacking, and then where the target area comes in is where they need to capture. So basically, with outside cities, as a game master, that's going to be really easy to determine a target area. So for instance, at the treehouse, you might have it right in front of the treehouse. With the shed out here, you're going to have it right in front of the shed, or on the side of the shed, something, whatever you want. The target areas are basically the area that the defending kids need to defend. And if they lose that position, if they run away, or if they lose, or if they're hiding somewhere and trying to do a different strategy, and the other team comes in for 60 seconds, they take the place and they win the battle. And then over here at the playground, that's really easy to do, and obviously the garage is pretty easy to do, but it's got to be outside. Now, the other 2 cities are in here. They are inside, obviously, but they still need they need to be represented outside in the yard somewhere in the region. And it should be as close as possible. So let's say one is like on the 2nd floor over here. You're probably going to want to put your target area for that city outside like that. And then maybe there's like a little porch or something here that's another city. That one's easier to do because it's on the 1st floor. And then you're just going to set it like right the exit or something, or maybe there's even like a little walkway that you could define as the target area. So in this example, like I say, we only need to do one, but I'm just giving you some examples on how to define your target areas as a game master. So I'm going to take these away now, and so we're just going to say that, we'll say that Team Gold here, right here, is attacking Team Green. So this could be like a country, and then this would be another country. These are just the colors, so I'm just calling them teams, but they're probably going to be countries in your game, or militias or something like that. Maybe corporations, who knows, or maybe anything. It depends on how you define your entities in your game, but generally that's how Microciv goes, is that it's going to be countries or city-state attacking each other. So we're going to say that this gold team is coming from this porch here I was just talking about, as I screw up the map here. So they're going to be coming from here. That's one area they could come from, because they own that. The attacking team can come from either a city that they own, a city they have permission on, and if they can't get any access, or maybe they want to start somewhere else, they need to start on the outskirts of the region. So it could be anywhere, the boundaries of the region, so it could be anywhere out here. And even in this case, you know, this is going to be representing a somewhat sizable area, so they'd be starting, even if they're trying to take this city here, they'd be starting out here on the boundaries. This city was the treehouse, remember. Okay, so the next thing is we're going to decide where they're attacking. I think I said porch. So they want to take over the city here at the porch, or not the porch, but the little inside porch, I guess you could say. And it's symbolized right here, so the attacking team's going to have to go there. So I think I said gold was attacking. So orange is defending. Say they muster up 2 kids for the fight. Because, I mean, in my game, it's going to be usually like 1 to 3, maybe up to 5 people on a country, depending on how many people are there that day. Now, when we were kids, it was kind of like that too, but it was a little bit easier to find people back then, at least at this stage in development of the game that I'm playing right now. So they're set up for the defense, and now these guys, let's just pretend that they're coming from, let's actually say they own all the other cities. So they could, no, actually, let's bring in green in here, and let's pretend green owns the playground. Okay, but green is going to say neutral, so you guys, your gold country is not allowed to start at the playground because, or the swing set or whatever it is, because we don't want you, we're going to stay neutral. That's what they're going to say. Okay, so then the attackers are going to decide, well, you know what, let's start some guys over here. Say they have 3 people. 3 people over here, 3 people over here, or 1 person over here, 1 person over here. Now, in order to get these attackers and offenders, each one of these kids, or usually actually the country, is going to have to sponsor them with a force card. Sometimes the kids, you know, especially if it's private militia or something, the kids will have their own force cards, or they're going to be sponsored by some other seedy organization or something that is in the game that wants to see the battle take place for some reason. But at any rate, they're going to have to somehow produce 1 force card each and submit that, and then that's gone. So then the orange side here, I even got the matching color flags. Basically flag football flags. Got orange here, got yellow, we'll just say that's gold, and then green for this third side because they're going to join the battle too because they want to. Alright, so each one of these kids is going to wear one of these. I don't know if you can really see them, but you probably are familiar with flag football and how it works, but the ones I got have 3 flags. Each one is going to wear them. So when the battle starts, the goal of the other team is to take the other kids' flags, rip them off. You got to get all of them, all 3 of them. Or if you have ones that have 2, both of them. I was thinking about saying like a kid could put in multiple force cards and like wear 2 belts or 3 belts or whatever, but I decided against that. You can try it if you want. At this point, I'm pretty happy with the rules I got. So now this gold country has turned in 3 force cards, and they're all wearing their flag football belts, and these 2 have also done that. Now, if they can't get the force cards, well, they can't play. So say these guys had 5 people, but they could only muster up 2 force cards, well, then they can only have 2 defenders. Okay, so we have our target area. Now we need our exit area. I don't want to forget that before the battle starts. So the Game Master is going to say the exit is here. Isn't that, you can keep, when you're the Game Master, you can have these permanently defined if you want. I'm just setting up as I go, just to give you a little bit better idea on how it works. So they're going to say this area right here is the exit area. That's for retreating, basically. And it's also for if you lose all your flags, the kid has to go here. Now, when a kid loses all their flags in a battle, they need to return here. They're not allowed to talk to anybody, and they're not allowed to participate anymore. If they break that rule, well, then you're going to have to punish them and keep them out. And I keep on saying kids, but it could be participants. But generally, people follow the rules, so I don't really ever encounter people not following the rules. But there will be those types of people once in a while. And basically, you got to be really strict with that type. I mean, you can go easy at first if they, make one mistake. But if they keep doing it and that's just their nature, well, then you're going to have to either force them to change that nature or just get out of the game because it's not worth having someone like that ruining everything. Okay, now, so now the battle starts. Well, actually, it's not going to start yet. Now, other teams are, I keep on saying teams, but this could be any kind of entity in the game or even an individual if they want. Now, in my rules, I have up to 6 belligerents. So this would be 2 belligerents. You got the defensive and offensive belligerent out here, and then up to 4 optional ones. It's a first come first serve. So whoever has the cards and says, "Hey, I'm ready for the battle," they get to go in first. And it's by entity. Okay, so even if it's an individual that's just by himself, that's one entity. If it's a other country, that's an entity. They can throw in as many people as they can afford. So I have 6 colored flags, that's why. If I had more colored flags, I would allow more sides. So, the next step is going to be starting the battle. So, but first, actually, the next step is getting the green guys in. So they're going to say they muster up 2 additional people. And one of them is going to start on the outskirts, and one of them is just going to go there. Now, it's important to note that the reason why you only need 1 target area per battle is because only 1 target area can be conquered. I should say only 1 city per battle can be conquered. So no matter what happens, even if these guys pull off the win, they can't go to their cities and attack. What they can do is start a new battle afterwards and then try that. They are allowed to do that, but it's 1 target at a time. Just to keep order, because even if they do, totally defeat these guys, they're still going to have an edge on their counter attack, even starting a new battle. Okay, so, unless these guys have tons of reinforcements, of course, then that's a different story. Okay, so the next thing is these guys have put in their force cards. They put in 2 force cards, so they're ready. And now the game begins. So basically, once these guys, everyone gets in their position, the game starts right away. Because the defenders are going to be in their position first, because everyone knows that this is the target of the battle. So then they start, and everything starts happening. Okay, this guy moves in. They got their flags on. And green's not doing anything. Okay, they're just playing neutral. Because their strategy is going to be, they're going to wait. But they are allowed to conquer the city now. So if they're friends with these guys, they can help defend. Oops, I'm not even. If the green's friend with the orange, they can help defend them. If the green's friends with these guys, they can help defend. Or maybe they want to be reinforcements in case something goes wrong. They can do whatever they want. Maybe in this case, what they're going to do is they're going to wait to see how it goes. And if they can find a weak spot, then they're going to go for this city. That's, remember, inside this house. But every inside city needs to have an outside target area. Just for the purpose of battles, that's it. Okay, so now what happens is this guy comes in, and these guys are, they forgot something out here, so they're regrouping. And then, but this guy thought another plan was going to happen, so he's going to go around this house, and he's going to make his move. Now these guys are in the woods out here, and then these guys hear him and they catch him, and these guys are they're more athletic or something. They corner him, and this guy is like, "Oh no, this is not good." So he can either try to retreat to this place, but let's say he's really slow and he can't. He can also surrender. Okay. Now this is strategically important because he's going to surrender to these guys. That means he needs to take off his belt, his football flag belt right here, and hand it over to his captor. So he does that. He is out, so he needs to return to that area, and these guys have his flag. Now, they have two options. They can rip off the flags, or they can keep the flags. Now, there's benefits to both that I'll get into. So if they keep it, you know, and they manage to fend off this attack, then they can turn that in to get a force card back. As long as they have all three. If they have partial, then they can take other ones that have partial and try to match it up. Now, when you turn in now you have a belt from someone that surrendered, this entity, whatever entity is the defending entity, gets to keep that force card. Okay, but in other situations, at the end of the battle, any surviving flags or sets of 3 flags in my variant, you can turn in 3, and the entity that sponsored that belt will get the force card. Of course, you can implement stealing and stuff like that, but that's a separate mechanism that I'll make a whole entire video for stealing. So you would just use that same theft mechanism for that aspect. But the default is that the belts that are surrendered go to the entity that they surrendered to, and the belts that survive the game, or like I say, you can add on other flags that you capture as well, just so you have 3 flags, will go to the entity that sponsored that belt, that the main belt that they're submitting. So that could be a little task remembering, but like I say, you're only dealing with a handful of participants, so it shouldn't be that difficult. Okay, so that's one example. Now, so then these guys are going to head out, and they saw them sneak into the forest out here, so they're going to be going out here, and then, but what they think is that these guys aren't going to go in here. Okay, so they trust them for some reason. Maybe they had a deal, but what's going to happen is this guy is going to go like this, and then this guy gets the idea. He's going to go in for the win. So he's going to take this target area. He's got to stay there for 60 seconds without any opposition. 1 minute, if you can do that. Now, as this guy's heading in the forest, this guy sees what's going on, and he's like, oh no. So he heads back. Again, this guy's real athletic, and this guy's not. This guy doesn't know what's going on. He was sleeping. I mean, he's in the road, so he shouldn't be there, especially if he's a kid, but I just put him there because the boundary would actually be, is not in the road, it would be outside the road, so I shouldn't have put him in the road, I should have put him out there. So he's out here by like the fence or something. Just pretend there's a fence here. Okay, so this guy sees it, and then this guy's like, oh no, because he thought he had a good opportunity because he thought these guys were gone, and he saw that's kind of what they were planning, was to do that, but their plan fell through because this guy saw him at the last minute, and this guy's super athletic and is going to beat him in the fight. So this guy's like, oh, well, I'm not very athletic, I don't have much agility, but I can run pretty fast, so I'm going to head out to the retreat area. And then this guy wakes up and sees what's going on, and before this guy notices, he runs around, and these guys retreat out of here. Now, if they would have won, yeah, they could have captured that city, even though they weren't the offensive belligerent. Now, again, once they get in here, even though they didn't lose any flags, they can't talk to anyone in the game. That's against the rules. They can talk amongst themselves, sure, but they can't let anyone else hear anything. So now, over here, and then these guys just realized what happened. These guys just realized what happened, that they kind of screwed up their plan. So they're going to try to make a run for it. This guy gets away safely. I'm sorry about my bad camera work. This guy gets away safely. And then this guy gets 1 flag of him, but then he gets away. So then they return. So the end result of this game is that these guys are going to be able to submit 6 of their flags, so they'll get 2 of their cards back. These guys are going to get an extra 1 because they captured 1. and then these guys are going to lose a force, but they'll still get one of them back. So, of course, you can see there's going to be tons of variations on that. And, yeah, again, you can make your own custom rules. Like I say, you can do board game simulations. You can do video game simulations. You can make your own video game now with Claude or whatever. The easiest one is obviously chess or checkers, depending on the intelligence level of the people you're dealing with. But the funnest one, in my opinion, is going to be something like laser tag, or even better, this. Now, I do love laser tag, but again, in this situation, that's going to be really hard to manage. Like, I like the old Tiger guns because you can customize them pretty well, and, you know, they're basic. But like I say, I'm not a laser tag expert that can program, like, all this other kind of stuff. But if you're one of those people, yeah, go with laser tag. That would be fun. But this is a nice, simple way. There's no electronics, nothing like that. It's just a game called Dare Base, a variant of Steel Base, or Steel Base, a variant of Dare Base, and it's sort of like Capture the Flag, except for you're taking over a spot instead of returning their flag back to your area. Again, just want to reiterate, there's no set rule on what you decide to do for your combat mechanism if you have combat in the game. Again, you can have a perfectly good game of Microciv without combat, but putting in combat adds that extra flavor, and the participants are going to have so much more fun with that, and it adds so much more strategy as well. But you can make any type of mechanism you want. And you can also have various types of mechanisms. For instance, if you want the inside cities to play chess for the inside cities, you could do that. And you want the outside people to play this variant of Dare Base or whatever else you come up with. Or maybe you want to do Capture the Flag. Maybe you want them to actually go there and then have to return to some area, maybe their city or their starting location or whatever. The sky's the limit with it. Just don't do it how we originally did it, where we just actually attacked other kids and threw rocks at them and threw sticks at them. I would not recommend that, even though that was a lot of fun.